here is 2-3 continued. I'm just going to go through the slides of the notes that we did in class and then pick up where we left off. Okay, and here we looked at the difference of two squares, but we still need to look at perfect square trinomials, so we'll do a couple of those examples now. Alright, so we have x squared minus 10x plus 25. So what we should notice first is that 25 is a perfect square. So we know that 25 is 5 squared. So what we want to check and see if this is our formula, is this negative 2ab? And it is, because negative 2 times 5 is negative 10. If we recognize our formula, we should be able to come up with the factor right away. Now if we don't recognize the formula, you can factor this the same way you would factor any trinomial. We have our two parentheses, and you want to think of the factors that multiply to positive 25 but add up to negative 10. So the factors of 25 would be negative 5 and negative 5. Since they're the same, you can write it as x minus 5 squared. Same idea as regular factoring. Formula just gives us a shortcut. Okay, so for number 4, we should see that 36 is a perfect square. It's 6 squared, and then here is positive 2ab, which tells us it's a perfect square trinomial. Applying our formula, we get x plus 6 quantity squared. And again, if we don't recognize the formula, the factors of 36 that add up to positive 12 are plus 6 and plus 6, in which case, again, you can simplify to x plus 6 squared. Okay, so that's just using the formula. We're going to solve a few equations using these now. First, find the roots of the equation by factoring. We have 4x squared equals 25. The first thing that we want to do is rewrite this in standard form. And the important part about the standard form here is that we get it set equal to 0. When we're solving our quadratic equations, we want to make sure we get it equal to 0. Next step, recognizing our perfect squares. So a is 2x and b is 5, which give us the factors 2x plus 5, 2x minus 5. We set each parenthesis equal to 0. And then we solve for x. And a good way to check this, go ahead and put 4x squared into y1 and 25 into y2 in your calculators, and we're going to take a look at the graph. This is what should come up. when we graph. You may have to change your window to go up higher than 25, since this line here is y equals 25. This one is 4x squared. And then we should see, you can move your cursor around or do the value function, and at negative 2.5 you should get 25, and 2.5 should be 25. Okay, just a good way to check your equation. All right, next example, find the roots of the equation by factoring. So again, first thing we want to do is rewrite this in standard form. Notice our perfect square trinomial, so we can factor this. And we only get one answer. We only get x equals 2. If we take a look at this in our calculators as a graph, I'm just going to do a little sketch for us here. The graph is going to sit on the x-axis at 2. Okay, we see that the a value is positive, so we know it opens up. All right, so that is why we only get one answer. There's only one x-intercept. Okay, next, find the roots of the equation by factoring. Again, first thing we want to do is put this in standard form. What we should notice next is that these numbers here have a common factor, so we can take a 2 out. Then we can cancel out the 2, divide everything by 2. 0 divided by 2 is just 0, so the right side's going to stay the same. Then we have our perfect square trinomial, so your hint that this is a perfect square, we have the 9x squared first and the 16 second. Alright, so here is our factor, 3x minus 4 quantity squared. Then our answers that we get, x equals 4/3 or x equals 4/3. So again, we only have one answer. Graph will look similar, sitting on the x-axis, only intersecting at 4/3. Oh, there we go. All right, using zeros to write function rules. This is the last part of the notes, and what this is really just kind of working backwards. So we are given the answer, and we're going to make a quadratic function from this answer. All right, so what we're going to do, we start with the answer. The answer is x equals 4 and x equals -7. Working backwards, how we would get this x equals 4, we would have x minus 4 equals 0 and x plus 7 equals 0. Our next step, these would be what we had in parentheses. So we put those in parentheses, and we multiply these out to get our trinomial. Okay, so we would have x squared, we would have plus 7x minus 4x minus 28. Okay, and remember that our factors add up to the middle term multiplied to the last term. And our last step, to put an f of x with it so that it is in function form. Okay, we're going to do the same thing here. Write a quadratic function in standard form with zeros, 5, and -5. All right, so our first step x equals 5 or x equals -5. Next thing that we want to do is write out how we would get x equals 5. So we would have x minus 5 equals 0 and x plus 5 equals 0. Now these equations are what we get from parentheses. So the first parenthesis is x minus 5, the second parenthesis would be x plus 5, and then what we would do is multiply it out. Okay, remember that our first term is x squared. The second term is the sum of our roots, so 5 and -5 is 0. The last term is the product. And since that middle term is 0, we don't need to write it in there. So here is our simplified answer. And our last step, all we have to do is put an f of x with that to put it in function form. And we are done.